Hi and welcome to my long-awaited video blog. Today I want to talk about the five senses and creating mood in your writing. So we're talking about sight, sound, smell, taste and touch. I often think of it when you're writing as it being quite a duality kind of concept. The hot, the cold, the happy, the sad, the light, the dark, etc. So you're kind of developing on those aspects, and it's how you do it, and also putting your own kind of style into it. Also, I guess a good way of describing is in movies where you have really kind of loud music, and that's for the action part, and then other maybe quieter moments where they use pastel colours. So they're reaching for their audience through the senses and the composition of what they're watching. So obviously with writing, you're only using words to do this. But for example, visual descriptions, I do think for this it's good not to get too carried away with blue eyes, brown hair, pink lips, white teeth, like we know all that. So you're wanting to do something interesting to keep your reader involved with the story, but also, you know, quite creative, but getting the message across, so you're not going too into the details. And also, you know, descriptions should be powerful, especially if you want them to have an impact. If maybe it's somebody that's potentially a dangerous person, or you know you want to capture something for later in the story, you know you can use some real key words. So less is often more. Bringing colour in, that's really good. You know, as soon as you start talking about the kind of weather, the tone of the sky, the landscape, you know, once it's dark, things are closing in. So that's helping somebody to create the painting in their head. And the sight of your main character, or the sight of your scene that you're trying to describe. It may be that you want to talk about things being angular. Maybe it's creating an angry kind of sense, or stimulating that sense. So you want to talk. You're not going to be talking about, like I said, pastel colours and calming things and beautiful flowers and the smell in the air. You know, it may be something pungent, or you know, there's sharp edges and it's dark and claustrophobic, or you know, that kind of, those things that may make you feel uncomfortable. Through sound, there's never really silence. If you're really searching for silence, it's very hard to get. It's good to describe the absence of sound. I think that can create a mood. For example, maybe like the calm before the storm. So maybe danger's around the corner, but it's that kind of everything stops moment. So in that sense, silence or creating a sense of silence is powerful. But generally, there's always something, whether it's the sound of the central heating, someone hoovering, the neighbour, the birds outside. It's all, you know, going on. We, in our daily living, tune things out. But when you're describing something through writing, you know, you want to capture everything, because it's those things that make it real to the reader. Again, like I said about the music in the film, if you're describing loud noises or something that's uncomfortable and has a physical reaction in your character that you're describing, those kinds of sounds all are creating an emotion. So you're understanding the sense of the story and the tone and what you're trying to say. I also think that it brings characters to life. So it may not be the main character, but it might be other characters around. It may be that just their voice. So your main character is hearing their voice, or you know, someone said something from behind them and it was stern, or you know, or calming or soft, or those kinds of things. So when you're thinking about sound, it's not just what's going on around. It could be other characters. It might be the fact that their fingernails were tapping on the table, kind of thing. It's not just what they're saying. It's what your character or other characters can hear, or the sounds that they're creating. It makes them live and breathe. Another thing is describing things. So compare a sound to something, or a sight to something, or a smell to something. But in this case, I would say, so I'm going to describe a sound which will help your reader understand. Clattered like hooves. You know, they say as loud as thunder, and it's that kind of description without having to actually say, you know, oh, it was a noise that really hurt my ears. You can give an association. Why did it hurt your ears? Oh, it was as loud as thunder. So you really got to kind of home in on all these aspects, and you wouldn't just go, I'm going to write this bit using a description of sound or a description of smell. You want to incorporate them all, because that's what it's like living. You know, you're aware of everything. Right now I'm aware of the light and the sounds of things, you know, if the kettle's on or whatever. So what's the next one? Smell. So that's quite good, because you don't often think of really describing smell to create a scene, but actually if they're not just walking down an alleyway, for example, it's the dampness, it's the mustiness, or or if they're in the countryside, the smell of the grass or the crops, or I was gonna say I was going to say dog poo, but anyway, forget that. But you know what I mean? Good and bad, duality. So taste is another one, and taste can be your characters interacting. They may be going out for a meal. It might be that someone's cooked for them and they don't like it, and so they're describing the sourness or the bitterness, and then they're trying to hide the fact that they don't like it. And touch is great, because touch and being touched, the sensation, this creates an emotion. And also you can instantly understand something about a character in the book, because it may be, or your story, it may be that you're introduced to the reader is introduced to that character for the first time, and because you've made the character profile, that person is a nervous person or has something to hide, or something like that. And so therefore they're introduced, and maybe the two characters shake hands, and your description is, I took their clammy hand, I took their cold hand, or their handshake was timid, or something like that. So you're embracing the situation using touch and describing what that would be like. Sixth sense is another one. So that's quite good, because it's intuition and internal guidance, plus it could also hint at something that's going to happen later in the story. So you may like we do, you get a voice in your head and you think, well, maybe you don't, I do, should I be worried? You get that kind of, oh no, don't do that, don't leave that there, or you're going to need that later, and maybe your character ignored that, and then later on you find out that they shouldn't have ignored it. Invariably, that's so true to life. Anyway, so a few tips there on the senses. You really want the reader to feel them. It brings everything to life, and at the end of the day, that's the most important thing. Sight, sound, smell, taste, touch, sixth sense. Enjoy. Bye.